God of War Ragnarok reviews are still pouring in as more and more people play the game at length. I myself have poured 26 hours in. I'm still not done, so this will be a no spoilers sort of review slash first impressions. I want to talk about what's good, what's bad. Is this thing potentially going to win Game of the Year? Where do I land on that? Where do you land on that? We want to hear from you. Obviously, a lot of the people looking for my talk shows have been avoiding the channel because they're avoiding those spoilers, but we hope we can start to see you guys come back around for the talk shows this week, so make sure you're subscribing, the bell button, make sure you're checking your subscriber feed. If I'm ever not on your homepage, it might be because you stopped watching my videos for about a week to avoid spoilers, and then YouTube won't put them on your homepage. So you always want to make sure you're checking that subscriber feed. Let's get into this. Let me give you my quick rundown review first impressions without spoilers. My God of War Ragnarok review is a little different because I'm not quite done with the game. So this will be more of a first impressions review without spoilers to give you my thoughts on the gameplay, the story, the graphics, and the performance, and what is my general conclusion about the Game of the Year discussion. If you like these quick updates, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and that way you don't miss my upload. So first I want to talk about gameplay. That's obviously going to be the center focus for many people wanting to compare to the previous game. How does it stack up? How does it feel? I think this game is undeniably a huge step up from the previous game. I do think combat has layers to it that adds depth and choice and variety that many will not feel without actually playing the game. If you watch a couple of videos, if you watch a couple of live streams, you're going to say it looks pretty much the same. You also need to get further in the game to unlock more skills and get more stuff, but that's about all I'm going to say about that. The set pieces that you're fighting in, I think, are varied and good. I think they add to the game feeling bigger and not quite as constrained. In the previous game, you were always sort of in a box, like a little set piece square, and as long as you kind of stayed in that box, you were just kind of fighting the enemies and you'd move on to the next place. The set pieces in the places that you're fighting are far bigger in God of War Ragnarok, and there's a lot of verticality. There's a lot of up and down that can lead to some frustrations. I will say that the fights can get a little bit spammy. There's a lot of off-camera damage. I remember that being a point of frustration in God of War 2018. That seemingly hasn't gone away. It may have gotten a little bit worse. You're having to kind of constantly listen to the NPC, you know, hey, you're right, hey, you're left, and constantly get out of the way, because if not, the off-camera damage is going to pelt you. Ranged enemies, I think, are a little overused in my personal opinion. When I go into a fight and there's 3 or 4 people charging at me, and you have 3 or 4 ranged enemies as well, just sort of around the fight shooting at me, it sort of feels like I have to go take care of them first, like a chore, else I'll be just absolutely shredded by damage that I can't really mitigate because I'm in the middle of a brawl. So I do think that the combat shines the most in the boss fights. There are amazing boss fights in this. There's mini bosses that show up. There's mini boss quests. There's these things that you can do where you find out in the world. There's like a kind of similar to Elden Ring, if you remember some of the bosses that you'd kind of go into arena to fight. They do something similar in God of War with some of the enemies, and I think those fights are amazing. The really big and poignant and meaningful boss fights are also very enjoyable, and it makes the mob fights feel a little stun-lock-ish, a little spammy. I don't think the mob fights are bad, but there are times where you're like, that just didn't feel like a good fight. I feel like when I fail in a boss fight, I learn good lessons, and when I fail in some of the mob fights, it doesn't really feel like it's my fault. I just kind of get stun-locked or spammed. Overall, I think the skills and the new things added to the combat enhance, evolve, and take things further than the previous game, and if you lean into those things, you will really find yourself satisfied with just how much damage you can dole out. Puzzle solving is very fun, but it is sometimes ruined by the NPCs, and so is just basic exploring. I'm not sure why they made this decision, but you'll walk into a room and you'll see things obviously meant for you to explore or go just open, like a chest, and the NPC with you will say, over here, this way, this is where we're supposed to go, and they'll do the same thing with some of the puzzles. They will almost instantly say, hey, I think you need to pull this thing over here and throw this at that. and that really hurts the game. I'm not sure why they did that. I think the reason it didn't show up in review culture is journalists and people reviewing the game are trying to play it as fast as they can, and so those things were probably helping them. They weren't exploring, they weren't doing all the puzzles and all the secrets, they were just trying to get through the story. If that's the kind of player you are, you might not really notice it, but for the exhaustive player that wants to check every corner and solve the puzzles on their own, it felt like I had backseat gamers walking through the game with me, telling me how to solve puzzles or where I'm supposed to go next before I've even had a chance to enjoy the beautiful scenery or tinker with the puzzle and the mechanics of it. So this is a minor thing. I don't want to make this a major part of the review, but it does stand out as a confusing decision, and especially you can't turn it off. People will tell you, oh, enhance the puzzle solving timer. That just gives you more time to solve the puzzles that take, like, you got to throw things quickly. It doesn't actually make the NPC shut up. It just makes the puzzles a little bit lengthier in how you can defeat them. Now, minor spoiler, I'm not going to give you details here. There are times where you will not be playing as Kratos. That's all I'm going to say. I feel these sections are awesome. I feel they're amazing and add to the story, but I think it's going to hurt replay value. Obviously, I'm not giving you details, so you'll just have to play and experience it yourself or find out from watching gameplay. So that's all of my thoughts on the gameplay. Now let's talk about the story. I think this is probably one of the best stories I've ever played in a video game. It's well written, it's well paced, the voice acting is award winning. There's not a single member of the cast that I don't think is absolutely killing it. Every scene is sort of gripping. You really, really want to pay attention. I find myself just walking around when people are sort of in groups or walking away from you just to see what they're saying to each other. There are points in the game where you'll be sort of around the cast of characters and you'll have that opportunity to just kind of walk over and listen to what they're saying, and I think it's all excellent. The huge focus on story elements and the sections where you basically sort of play through the story, I think those will potentially hurt replay value. Some of those are times where you're not playing as Kratos and it's like, okay, this is awesome. It's like experiential storytelling, very cinematic, but it's also kind of slow, which I don't think is a bad thing. But on a replay, I think people are going to get a little annoyed. Hey, can I skip those sections? Can I skip those aspects of the game? And, you know, the cast of characters that you interact with, I think that they're charming, they're touching, they're funny. I think a few times it gets deeply emotional. Just the way that they create gravity and tenseness and really, really good moments. I really, really thought they did a great job with that. I don't think there's been a single moment that I've not wanted to pay attention to, and I even got a little emotional during a scene between Kratos and his son. I think the surprises have been fantastic. I'm sure there's more on the way. It's why I'm not spoiling anything. It's why I'm being very generic in what I'm saying. I don't want any of the surprises in the story to be ruined for you. So I give the story a massive, massive 2 thumbs up. Let's talk about the graphics. Graphics are clearly better than God of War 2018. Comparisons to God of War 2018 are painfully obvious that this game is next gen. I had a video go viral on the other platform and it hit like 4 million views because people are grossly misunderstanding why I'm showing that a game on PS5 looks better than a game that came out 4 years ago, even when the game's on PC at ultra settings. Nobody understands why I'm doing that. Well, the reason I'm doing that is there were so many dumb people saying it doesn't look that much better than God of War 2018, and I compared it to the best possible version of God of War 2018, and it was clearly better. And then when you play it, it's undeniably a next-gen game. Anybody that's still driving the DLC narrative, oh, it's just a DLC, or, oh, this game was held back, I just think they look really stupid at this point. I don't think it's something you can substantiate when you look at any of the technical breakdowns. Any of the analysis of the graphical fidelity and the performance of this game shuts down that argument. Not even that. The scope, size, and content in the game. Somebody remarked in one of the sections where I wasn't playing as Kratos, and they said, this DLC has DLC. Now, they were obviously joking and memeing about the game's not DLC, but the game feels like it has DLC baked into it. There's so many significant things happening, so many places for you to go, so much stuff to do. It feels so much larger than the previous game. So graphics-wise, I think it's a stunning and beautiful game that will likely win awards, and that is related to performance. That's the last thing I want to talk about. I think I saw one instance of pop-in during the opening scene where you're like on the sled. I swear I saw something kind of pop in. That was the only time I've seen pop in. The 120 frame rate mode seems to have a bit of a jitter. I have like one of the best TVs on the market that was sent to me very kindly from some people. I was told I have to turn VRR on. I just don't run the high frame rate. I've had no issues with favoring performance and 60 FPS. Not a single hitch, not a single stutter. I've not noticed anything in the game being weird or acting up. So other than having that one time where I think I might have saw a pop in, and then the 120 frame rate not being one that I would choose. Again, that's going to be up to the person and the monitor and the TV they're playing on. I've had no issues with performance. The game runs rock solid. To me, this is a stunning display of just what can be squeezed out of the PS5. Again, I think anybody thinking this game was held back is going to look really dumb in about 5 years when virtually no games exceed this game's graphical fidelity. I believe this game is showing just how amazing the PS5 is, and probably not much was left off the table. My conclusion is this. God of War Ragnarok will win Game of the Year, and the reason is that the graphics are standout in this generation of console. The story is immaculate. It's like watching a movie that has every turn, every surprise, and every character element you could hope for. Genuinely written and voice acted in a way that's gripping, and you have a hard time looking away from it. The gameplay is hugely evolved and surpasses the previous game. For anybody that actually plays it and isn't just sort of watching gameplay, you know that the gameplay has significantly expanded beyond the God of War 2018 game. So I do believe it'll win Game of the Year for all those reasons. As always, I want to know what you think in the comments below. Let me know. Check out Reforge Gaming, where I stream these types of conversations live. Hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll see the rest of you right now. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm going to refresh. My back end is not working right. I can't see chat. It's telling me that there's only 38 people here. That can't be right. Is my back end glitched? Like, that can't be the correct number of people here. We have 100 likes. Thank you guys so much for the 100 likes. Is the view count glitched? My view count is glitched. Chat's working. That's all that matters, I guess. Love the ugly sweater. If you like my Super Mario ugly sweater Christmas t-shirt, be sure to hit the shirt command up. Use code Lono at 80stees.com for 30% off. They have an amazing Christmas selection. If you're wanting to get some Christmas t-shirts before Christmas gets here, now's the time to do it. So thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, I can see on the graph there's almost 300 people here. Okay, so we're back to normal. I was like really concerned. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's avoiding spoilers so much they're not even going to tune in for my review that's spoiler free. Make sure you guys are smashing the like button. Make sure you're on live chat. Thank you so much to some coffee orders already this morning. We got a Reforge Roast order from YouTube Lurker, and then a renewal for their Reforge Roast Lite subscription got processed yesterday for Rissick. So thank you, Rissick. A $5 tip from Godslayer Tactician. I like the idea of not playing as Kratos for a bit. The problem is that it overstayed its welcome. Kratos is just too central to the series. Yeah, I had to include that minor spoiler in my review. I had to. It was like, there was no way I could leave that out, because in my mind it is one of the points of criticism that I have. Like, I think those spots are really excellent. I have no complaints first playthrough. Now it gets better, right? It gets better. Like, as time goes on, when you're not playing as Kratos, I think it gets better. But the first couple of times, I'm sitting here thinking, bro, on a replay, I am not going to want to do this again. I'm not going to want to walk through this again. This is going to be so slow and so plotting. You know what I'm saying? Yo, good morning, feed. I see you in the chat. Guys, there are so many people here right now. We could easily have 200 likes. Make sure you're smashing. If you've already hit like, thank you so much for doing that. It's not just a few minutes. Yes, it's hours at a time. That is correct, McD09. That is good to point out. It's not like, you guys remember in Spider-Man when you play as Mary Jane? What is that? 10 minutes? You know what I'm saying? It's 10 minutes. So in this, it's a long time. You know, it's like 2 hours at a time, and you're like, okay. And again, I'm not saying that this is a huge problem for your first playthrough. I think for your first playthrough, it adds amazing depth to the story. It adds amazing, like, a sense of scope. But if you're replaying this, I think you're going to be super annoyed. And they've added a lot of reasons to replay. The armor sets, the skills, there are set bonuses for different pieces. Thank you so much, Hervé, for doing a full membership. Guys, members, as a reminder, I'll be out of town next week. We need to set a Nightbot timer to remind people about that. But I need everybody to get off of base membership if you can. You need to get on the $6 full membership. You need to get on that. And that would be very, very helpful. Let's see here. Lono. Oh, wait. I highlighted that. I'm gonna change the coffee timer too. Lono will be out of town the week of Thanksgiving. Streams resume on, what's the date? There's a specific date that they're gonna resume on, the 28th, on November 28th. There you go. Lono will be out of town the week of Thanksgiving. Streams resume on November 28th. So this is we'll stream all this week. We're doing shows all week long. 10 terrible minutes in Spidey, though, on my PC replay. Hate redoing the MJ missions. At least they added the options to skip puzzles. TJ Rage with a $2 tip. Huge issue with controls when playing as the other. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with the controls, and I feel like it gets better. I feel like the combat gets better the further that you go and the further that you play with that particular person. It's kind of stupid to even try to keep this from, like, being talked about. I think people knew. The first sequence without Kratos isn't too long because you're not Kratos. It's too long because you're not doing anything. Another great piece of input from Eugene. That's the other thing, yes. I tried to talk about that in my story section of the review. It's like, there's this huge section where you're sort of experiencing the story, and it's like, who's going to want to replay this? You're just sort of traveling around with a person and talking and hearing great story and learning great things, but it's like, who's going to want to play this a second time? You're not doing anything. You're not fighting. You're not getting loot. You know what I'm saying? So, again, first playthrough, it's like, this is an immaculate game. On second playthrough, I think people are going to be like, can I skip this stuff? Yo, a VIP membership and a 19-month milestone for Thad C. Welcome back. I never want to pick up fruit ever again. Right? It's just like, what am I doing here? They try so hard to connect Atreus to the other character in that segment. When they do it so well, once you get past that, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it's going to be frustrating on New Game Plus. It was a glorified date. Constant puzzles too. The $2 tip from Godslayer Tactician. Yeah, I hate to harp on this, but my gosh, the NPCs just get in the way of the game breathing. The game can't breathe. I literally walked in a room. And I was looking to my left, and I saw a chest, and within that frame of time, and then I turned back, the NPC with me was like, it's up here, we have to go up here. And I was like, shut the frick up. Shut up. Let me play the game. You know what I mean? Now, if you... I think nobody brought this up other than SkillUp that I saw in the reviews when the embargo dropped. Nobody other than SkillUp brought this up. Okay, so maybe other people were bringing it up. I wonder if just game journalists are so beeline linear. They didn't notice it, right? They were just always going to the next thing. I want to solve this puzzle quick. I want to play this so I can write my review. Like, how many of them were thinking in that way? And so I just wonder if why did nobody mention this? Like, I walk in a room and you're immediately telling me what to do? I was really hoping they update the game with options for NPC puzzle hints. Other games have nice customizable puzzle hints and gameplay options without impacting difficulty. I'll tell you what they need to do, Derek. They just need to have a no hints option. And if you walk up to the NPC and you're stuck, you could hit a button and they'll be like, I think you're supposed to hit that thing over there. Like, that's totally fine. If you want to have that, just let me check a box that says no hints. Like, go through and categorize every audio file you have that's a hint and shut it off if I check that box. Like, that would make some of the puzzles so much better. It feels like some of the hand-holding happens after you've seen the thing. Like, I've seen the switch, I mentally know what to do, and then the NPC pipes up, and it only happens during main quest. You know what the problem with that is, Eugene, though? Sometimes you haven't seen it. The camera has. Sometimes I've not seen it. The camera has seen it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I walk in the room, and I'm like scanning the area. I'm like, I'm looking left and right. You know, I'm looking for chests. I'm looking for secrets. And because there's some thing hanging from the ceiling, you know, Atreus is like, oh, I think we have to hit that thing and then shoot at the reflector. Huh? Sometimes they shut up and I'm looking for help. Yeah, that happened to me the one time. Yeah, I was like, oh, now you're quiet. I don't know what the frick I'm supposed to do. And now you're quiet? Now is when you shut up? Okay. I rolled my eyes when I took control of another character, but it was fun. Listen, we're just going to have to say it, okay? It was speculated a lot. This is not a major spoiler. I have to be able to say this for the sake of the discussion, okay? I don't think anybody's in the dark about who you play as. This is not a major story spoiler, okay? You play as Atreus, okay? You do. He has his own stuff he can do. You're getting XP and you're leveling him, and he's got abilities and stuff. It's not a major spoiler. We need to be able to say that in order for us to have an adequate conversation about those sections in the game. That's not a major spoiler. It isn't. We all kind of knew that was probably going to happen, and you know, they did it. Yeah, check that out. Check that out right there. That actually looks really good right there. I wonder if I could just line the carpet with stuff just with the edge of the light appearing above it. Anyways, right. Lono just turned hints on. Yeah, sorry. I actually think it becomes more fun to play as him as time goes on. It's in the first 2 hours of the game. Yeah, if you haven't made it that far and you're watching a review, thank you, Corey. You play as Atreus pretty quickly in the game, right? So here's the thing. It gets better as time goes on. It does, right? He starts out and it's sort of like, it's very arcade-ish, it's very action-oriented, and it's fun. It's like a bunch of very fast quick time events. It's like you kind of hit the enemy a couple times, and then you run up and you can do an execution, right? Again, none of this is a spoiler. Like, you don't know what's going on in the game right now. I'm just telling you, you're going to play as Atreus. Big deal, right? I'm warning you now that the sections where you play as him, they're a little long, right? Still 38. It's actually 358 viewers. I can see it on the back end. TJ Rage with a $10 tip through Super Chat. Firing the arrow function should be separate from light attack. I kept having to take my thumb off the joystick to fire instead of focusing on my aim. Well, I'm not sure what you mean. You have two different attacks. You have your different arrows, and you have the light arrow is a different arrow. Your light attack's a different arrow. Like, I'm not going to go into details about the arrows. Everybody knows you have different arrows in the first game. You have different arrows in this game. They you know, you're going to see stuff you can't interact with, just like in God of War 2018, and you're going to get stuff later that lets you interact. I'm not sure what you're talking about, TJ Rage. Firing the arrow should be separate from light attack. I kept having to take my thumb off the joystick to fire instead of focusing on my aim. It's not just hints, it's combat too. Father, you're on fire. Brother, you're covered in bifrost. Shut the frick up. Yeah. They do comment a lot when you're in combat too, don't they? I want them to add or allow an option for hints being off entirely or on a timer. Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West and both the Last of Us games give you hints only after you fumble around for a few minutes. That's perfect for me. Right, and there are probably people that don't even want that, Derek. There are probably people that like, no, I don't want you to say anything. Guys, we have almost 400 people here. Let's aim for 200 likes. Actually, let's aim for 300 likes. We basically have 200. If you've already hit the like button, thank you for doing that. That's a ritual you need to do every time you get in the stream, is just smash that like button. $5 tip from Godslayer Tactician. It really comes down to people liking Kratos more. I like Atreus, but I'd rather see him in a spin-off with that amount of hours of playtime. That's what somebody referred to as DLC within the DLC when I was playing. I was playing as Atreus, and they're like, this is like DLC inside the game, which is, I said that. I said, anybody calling this game DLC looks like an idiot. Like, there's an entire, like, subset of the game where you don't even play as Kratos. It's like DLC baked in. Remember when I said they could do, like, a side game, like the, you know, the Uncharted Lost Legacy thing? They could totally do that, right? Like, with characters in games like this, especially when they create an entire, like, combat mechanic for them. See your hammer over there? Yeah, I've got it set up. Does this game have a lot of replay value? I don't think so. That's one of my concerns, AC. That's one of my concerns. I'm sitting at 26 hours, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about replay value, right? YouTube's broken. Yeah, the view count's broken. They're doing more UI stuff, and it says there's 38 people watching. There's like, there's close to 400 people watching. So the funny thing is like, they added a lot of depth for replay value. When you start looking at the armor sets and you start looking at the other things you can get, there's different things you can equip that give you, like, set bonuses, right? I'm not going to go into great detail here and spoil, but you get more stuff the more you play, and that stuff can then be, you know, you can have a synchronization with your build. I'll give you an example from my own build. It's armor that you get very early in the game, okay? I have armor that my chest piece, every time I get one of those grab executions or grab stuns, because sometimes you can grab them and they're, you know, you're not killing them yet. You're just stunning them with R3. Every time I do that, I get some health. Every time. And now I have armor pieces that increase the healing I get from stones on the ground, abilities, or gear. So my gear is healing me, and I have other gear that's making that healing be quite a bit better. I really like that synergy. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to use my abilities. I'm going to use my attacks to do lots of stun. I'm going to break their posture so I can grab them, right? Now, while I've been playing, I've looked at other pieces of armor. There was one piece of armor that was like, hey, it'll do this to the enemy. And then the other pieces that went with it were like, when this is happening to an enemy, they're going to take more damage or whatever, right? So when you look at that, right? Yeah, poison. Okay. Yeah, I guess poison was in the first game. When you look at those builds, that's exactly what I start thinking is like, oh, they created a pretty good amount of replay value here, right? There's going to be a lot of reasons to go back and try a different build or try different armor sets or whatever. So they actually have created a lot of replay value. Right? But the thing is, if you're constantly having to play as not Kratos for hours at a time, I think that hurts replay value. You can clearly tell who watch the game and who actually play it just saying, oh yeah, there's plenty of people that are like, oh, the combat doesn't look that much better. You've not played the game. Combat looks basically the same as the first game. Yeah, you've not played the game. Anybody that's played the game and is saying that, they probably just don't know what they're doing. They've not experimented enough. They've not tried anything new. The dialogue gets old. Never mind dropping an F-bomb. Every other line gets so old. That's not happening at all. I think the most times you hear like the F word was when you were interacting right in the beginning of the game. You're interacting with Thor. Everybody knew that there was going to be a Thor fight. That's not a spoiler. And yeah, he swears. Nobody else is doing that. I don't think anybody, like, I've not heard Kratos or Mimir. I've not heard Atreus swears a few times, but I've not heard anybody dropping F-bombs other than Thor. Oh, and then Brock, but Brock does that in the first game. That's what Brock does. Like, I don't think that's weird. The F-bombs are unnecessary, and I'm not against constructive cursing. I don't feel like they do it too much. I don't think it shows up that much. It's an adult game made by adults. They use adult language. Yeah, I mean, you're decapitating people. You're cutting people in half. You're hacking people's, like from here to here. And they, like, look at you while they're doing it. It's a gruesome game. There are reasons to replay, but I don't think most people will. Oh, you doubt most people will. Mimir does. Not, like, it's not, he's saying that they drop the F-bomb every other line. I think that's exaggeration. I don't think that that's accurate at all. I think the writing and the voice acting and the way they've put it all together has been immaculate. God of War Ragnarok will win Game of the Year. I believe it. I believe it. We have a reaction video that'll probably go live today, and it's MSN.com saying why it won't win Game of the Year. And they actually don't argue why it won't win Game of the Year. They spend the entire... Now would be a good time to insert ads. So, oh, they're going to have that pop up at 30 minutes now instead of an hour? What the heck? So, they were basically saying... They spent their entire... They've spent their entire article... oh, now it's showing me the view count. There we go. View count just updated. So... The argument was they spent the entire review basically saying that, the review culture is just toxic. You're not allowed to break from the norm and blah, blah, blah. They were basically saying that reviews should be about what the general public thinks of the game. And I'm like, that's not what reviews are for. Reviews are supposed to be professionals weighing in on the quality of the game for consumers to get an idea of how good the game is. You know, it's not supposed to be representative of the opinions of the world at large, because if that were the case, no games would get consistent scores, because even the best games have people that don't like them. So what would be the point in having people that don't like the game review the game, right? Like, what's a gaming professional, though? Someone who plays games professionally. You play games, and that's what you do for a living, whether you're making videos or writing articles. So a good example would be, I don't like racing games. So if I suddenly wrote a review of a racing game and basically said, here's all the reasons I didn't like this game, you couldn't say, yeah, that review should be included with all of the rest and taken just as seriously. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Like, reviews are not meant to be indicative of what the world thinks about a video game, because the world is always going to disagree. They're always going to disagree. Like, if every single person in the world played Elden Ring, it wouldn't get 9s and 10s. It would get 2s and 3s and 4s, and I was confused, and I couldn't beat the first boss, and, any other dumb thing that people would say. And then people that are familiar with FromSoft games and are familiar with very punishing games, they would review the game and be like, it's a masterpiece. It's a 9 out of 10. So God of War Ragnarok didn't get a bunch of 9s and 10s because, not enough people reviewed it, or, if you break from the norm, you're going to get ousted. It's like, no, you're supposed to weigh the game's quality. How's the graphics? How's the story? How's the gameplay? How does it perform? I don't give a frick if you liked it. I don't give a frick if you liked it. If I'm trying to figure out, when I go to Amazon and I look at reviews, I'm not looking to see, did you like the vacuum cleaner? Do you like it? No. Does it work well? Does it do a good job? Like, I don't look at product reviews and hope that some ninny gets on there and is like, it does just an amazing job, and it's designed well, and its form factor's great, but I just didn't like it. I don't care. I don't care if you didn't like it. That's not the measurement of something's quality. What are you gonna watch Casablanca and be like, I didn't like it? Well, that's not a review of the movie. That's not you being a movie critic. That's just you telling me what you liked. You know what I'm saying? Like, a food critic reviewing the quality of a steak at a 5-star restaurant matters way more than some dude going in there and being like, I could make this at home. Like, okay. I wouldn't care what that guy had to say. So I don't think anybody looking at this and being like, does it deserve Game of the Year or not? It doesn't come down to whether or not you liked it. That's not the determination. I give this game a 9 out of 10. This game's immaculate. My gripes are minor. My criticisms are minor. I think this thing wins Game of the Year without breaking a dadgum sweat. You play the first 45 minutes. Like, play the first hour to 2 hours. I don't see how. I don't see how you could look at it and be like, yeah, no, it just isn't as good as the last game. Like, we did a supercut rewatch. This is something else I think that's going on. We did a supercut rewatch of the first game. And all these people that are like, the first game just had way more punch and the first game's story was way better. I'm like, you're remembering how you experienced. Go and watch our supercut part 1 and part 2. Go watch it. It doesn't hold up to this game's quality of storytelling and voice acting. It's amazing, but it's not better than Ragnarok. There's no way. There's no way. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 based on 15 hours. I'm looking to try and game in a genre and I'm unfamiliar with, and I would like the review from someone who isn't normally playing the game. I think you just need to be transparent about it. Well, sure. If, like, a first-timer review is fine, Valiant. Like, hey, it's my first time checking out, Street Fighter game. Here's my impressions of Street Fighter 6. Accessibility, tutorials, approachability, etc. Sure, go for it. But that's not, I don't think that's indicative of, like, review culture. Of, like, oh, people can't break from the mold and speak their mind. It's like, but that's not what reviews are there for. It just isn't. It's better than the first game, but I'd still give Game of the Year to Elden Ring, says Kaiser. I'm not going to try to convince people off of Elden Ring. I'm not. If you think Elden Ring is still Game of the Year, there's plenty of good reasons to think that. I do. I think there's plenty of good reasons to think that, Elden Ring still got this. However, if we look at Elden Ring the same way that people are looking at God of War Ragnarok as the continuation of a franchise, I think God of War Ragnarok beats the tar out of Elden Ring. I think it beats the tar out of it. Like, Elden Ring's immaculate, and God of War Ragnarok walked in the room and was like, okay, when you're done, we'll get up on stage. Whenever you're done doing what you're doing, we're going to get up on stage. It's not even a comparison in my mind. Sekiro's less accessible than Elden Ring and is still won Game of the Year. Modern Warfare 2 not Game of the Year. I think Modern Warfare 2 still gets a nomination, Brandon, but I don't think it has a shot because the multiplayer is a mess. When I talked about Modern Warfare 2 surprising everybody, I was like, it's definitely going to get a Game of the Year nomination. I was talking about the campaign. And I still think their campaign is going to get nominations and potentially it's going to win some awards. I do. I think the Modern Warfare 2 campaign was very, very good. It was glitchy, but the multiplayer is a mess. Like, I don't think Modern Warfare 2 is going to win a lot of the big awards because their multiplayer launch was so bad. Let's be real, 2019 was not a good year for games. Sekiro did not have much competition. I don't know if that's accurate. God of War Ragnarok story was Game of the Year, but replay value. But replay value is not what determines Game of the Year. It isn't. Think of the games that have won, right? Let's just talk about God of War 2018. God of War 2018 didn't win Game of the Year because of replay value. It won Game of the Year because it was an immaculate masterpiece. That's what... you don't pick, like... Movie of the Year isn't picked on rewatchability. It's picked based upon how good was the complete package. I don't know. Elden Ring set a new precedence for what open world games. God of War sets a precedence for the one-cut camera stuff, but it already did that in 2018. Yeah, but God of War isn't just... That again isn't what we're measuring. It isn't. Oh, set a precedence for open world games. Okay, but that's not all Elden Ring did. Sekiro won against Death Stranding, Control, Resident Evil 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds. You know, you might actually be right. Sekiro didn't have a whole lot of competition. If you guys are just tuning in, my God of War Ragnarok review, no spoilers. We're not getting into spoilers. I'm 26 hours into the game. I believe this game will win Game of the Year. I believe it will win Game of the Year. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. 26 hours in. I think I'm nearing the last, 10 hours of the game. The one-shot work is even more impressive in this game. Yeah, I would actually say the cinematics of the one-shot work in this game do surpass 2018. I will say that, but I don't think that's what's going to determine Game of the Year. I don't. Replay value is way too subjective as a criteria to weigh heavily in the Game of the Year discussions. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think replay value is the criteria. Again, it's too subjective. Because somebody might be like, hey, the replay value is great in God of War Ragnarok. I don't care about those slow sections with Atreus. I love those parts. I'm picking up on dialogue that I didn't pick up last time. It's so subjective. I would be bored out of my mind. I think those sections are irritating. I mean, they're not irritating. They would be irritating on a replay. Have you been mainly sticking to the story path so far? I have been, but I've also been doing side quests and stuff off stream. Now, Friday night, I had some drinks, and we got off of the main path, and I got a little irritated because I, tune in for the announcement of the nominees, noon Eastern. Ah, frick. I didn't know they were doing that today. Dadgummit. Creature, we should probably co-stream that and cover that. That's at noon today. We could easily cover that before going back to play. We might not be able to do members today then, dadgummit. Sorry to drop it. No, I appreciate the heads up. I thought they were just going to tweet it out. I didn't know they were streaming it. I'd give this game a 9.5 out of 10. I personally don't think it's fair to judge this game on replay value when we don't have a new game plus yet. Yeah, I'm not saying that Game of the Year should be determined by replay value. I'm just warning people. I'm just warning you. I'm like, listen, replay value is going to be a little bit weaker in God of War Ragnarok gameplay. I do. I think it's going to be a little bit weaker because you're going to have to replay sections that are very slow and, they're okay. They should have an option to skip walking sections in New Game Plus. How many nominees are there for Game of the Year? We don't know yet. It's usually between 4 and 5. If you guys are just tuning in for the day, make sure you're hitting the like button. Thank you to everybody who has already done that. Make that just kind of part of your daily ritual. We appreciate everybody who does that right when they get in. I mainlined the story so I couldn't get spoiled. I got done in 18 hours, if that means anything. Thank you, Mike T. I must be very close to the end then, because I've not done a ton of side missions and stuff. And I have very much had efficient play sessions. I've not talked to the chat very much when I'm playing. You guys just don't like story-driven games? Quit trying to chop it up. No, I don't think that's a fair conclusion. I don't think people saying that they want to be able to skip that stuff on New Game Plus means they don't like story-driven games. I think it's a false dichotomy. I can love story-driven games and love every second of my first playthrough and then say, on my second playthrough, I don't need to slowly walk around as Atreus and have conversations. I know what's in this section. I want to try a new armor build. I want to try a new build with this and that and the other abilities and weapon and that. I don't need to do all that again. It doesn't mean I don't like story-driven games. I wish they improved climbing. I hate the automated stuff in games. I don't think the climbing's bad. I think the climbing's fine, right? If you guys are just tuning in, weigh in on the discussion. God of War Ragnarok review, no spoilers. I think it's going to take Game of the Year. I put in 26 hours. I'm not done yet. The most major spoiler we are talking about, I actually don't think it's a major spoiler. I think it's a minor spoiler. The most minor thing we are having to reference, because it is one of my criticisms, is you're not always playing as Kratos. There's some lengthy sections where you play as Atreus. I think his gameplay gets better the further you get, but his sections are kind of lengthy. And the first time you play as him, you don't really do anything. But I'm not going to say any more than that. And then the other criticisms I did outline were the NPCs solve the puzzles for you almost every time. They just tell you what to do, which is a little unnerving. And they're also being like, hey, over here, you need to climb this. You need to do that. And it's like, wait a minute, I was looking for a chest. Like, what the... shut up, Can't wait for people to realize 4 demigods and Elden Ring are just side quests. I think time spent on making climbing better would be wasted bandwidth. It's not core to the game's identity, and it doesn't spoil the experience. Yeah, I think the climbing's fine. I think the climbing is totally fine. The game holds your hands too much. It's weird. It's such a weird decision. Think about it like this. Imagine designing a game of this depth with all these things for you to do, and then being like, oh, hey guys, we're the audio department, and what we're gonna do is, I think every 60 seconds somebody's gonna say something. They're gonna tell you where to go, they're gonna tell you what to do, they're gonna tell you how to solve a puzzle. And I feel like the guys designing the gameplay be like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you let the people solve it on their own or explore on their own? What are you doing? Dr. Doom with a 2-month milestone. Not perfect. Ending felt rushed. Couple of slow moments, but hard spot. Game of the year for me. Can't wait to see where Barlog takes the franchise. Thank you so much. Dr. Doom, you are still at a base membership. Right now, if you are paying for your own membership, I need you to go to the membership page on my channel, and I need you to upgrade to full membership. It's only $1 more. So instead of $5 a month, it's $6 a month. We need a dividing line between gifted members and full members. So we're going to change the name of base membership to like member trial next month, so people clearly see that is not meant to be a full membership. I had a few days off work and about 50 hours in the game. My take on the story is that it's meant to be digested over time. So I think on replay value, Atreus sections will piece things together more. They've not bothered me on my first playthrough, Austin, and I think that's why. Because I'm not doing super lengthy gameplay sessions. I mean, well, I guess that's comparative and subjective. You know, I'm doing anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, so clearing one of those entire sections felt good. I just thought to myself, am I going to want to do that on a second playthrough? You know? Why do you have to climb back down almost all ledges? I thought they were going to start letting you do the jump thing, but they don't let you do that everywhere. Like where he jumps and throws the Chaos Blade. Valiant says, it gets even weirder when you think about the fact that all of the verbal cues for each puzzle would need to be voice acted, and so would cost a good amount of time and money. Right, and that's the thing, Valiant. I don't care if you do that if you leave it up to me. Like, if I just get absolutely stumped and I want to walk up to the NPC with me and be like, what the frick am I supposed to do here? And he's like, I think you're supposed to pull that lever. Like, I think that's totally fine. But they do it immediately. It's like, it's instantaneous. Like, I ran into a room once, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I ran to a room, I, like, panned right, panned left, and Atreus is like, I think we need to blow that up to get that free. And I was like, what? I was like, why did you say that? We just got in the room. I didn't even know there was a puzzle yet. I wasn't even aware that there was a puzzle. I had just gotten into the room. Like, what? What are you doing? Ratchet says, I reckon the story's good, but exploring is a bit all over the place. Like, early game is good, but mid to late, they go, he's access to the end of the game area fights. Thank you for upgrading to a full membership, Tattoos. We need everybody to do that. Either do full or VIP. Please don't stay on a base membership. You're going to be so confused in December if you do. The new weapon puzzles are annoying. Like, you find when you got to get an angle on it. Oh, I don't mind that. I think that's fine. He says, dude, the puzzle crap's literally pisses me off. Yeah, the puzzle stuff it's weird. It's absolutely weird. Somebody somewhere, I honestly feel like somebody made a mistake. I'm not kidding you. It feels like a mistake. It's so, Wheezy's using the right word. Like, it's so obnoxious, it feels like a mistake. It's like I have the game on story mode. Like NPC puzzle assist story mode. It's like, what the huh? I literally got into an area the other day and I got so annoyed, I just started yelling. I was like, shut up. Shut the frick up. Like, I got into this area and off to my left, I clearly saw a chest that I was supposed to figure out how to get to it. And the NPC, like, beelines to a wall and is like, up here, Kratos. We have to climb up here. And I'm like, what? What? Huh? Why are you doing that? You're literally just beelining. It's like a backseat gamer. It's like it literally feels like a backseat gamer. It's like, oh, okay, I'll get to that. I'm looking around. Or in combat, when the enemy starts glowing and you can shield strike it, and they preemptively go, shield strike the enemy. Yes. Yes, that's another thing, Wheeze. Yeah. I noticed that in this one fight because once I figured out that's what I needed to do, they kept doing it. Shield strike now! What? I've been fighting this enemy. I've been fighting this enemy for 5 minutes. I've died a couple of times. I know that I'm supposed to do that. Shield strike now! Do a shield strike! What? You can turn it off in the settings? No, you can't. No. We've looked. There is no way to tell the NPCs to stop telling you hints and clues. Do you know what I mean? You think I'm a fanboy, you're literally wrong. Like, I really love God of War Ragnarok. Like, literally, I love it. It's one of a kind. But replay value. Yeah, I actually agree that replay value is rough. Wheezy says, I've tried every setting. Yeah, there's no way to turn it off. You can't turn it off. You can limit it, but it's still too much. Big love from TaylorMade, a 7-month milestone and a full membership. Guys, keep in mind, we do live streams and uploads and shorts. And live streams like this are free, and there's no advertisements when I'm live. So if you've never done a membership before on YouTube, consider it. You can click the join button, or you can do !join and pick a full membership, $6 a month. It's something that we are doing a little bit more of an ask on, but I don't want to disrupt the show any more than what I just did. Godslayer with a $2 tip. It's worse when you're 50 feet away. Yeah, you're not even close to it. That happened to me in the one puzzle. I didn't know there was a puzzle. Atreus was ahead of me and was like, I think we need to shoot that thing to get that thing free. And I was like, I'm not even over there, bro. I'm over here looking at stuff. You know what I'm saying? Elden Ring is more innovative and has way more replay value. I would argue that Elden Ring's replay value is significantly higher, but innovative is too broad of a term. What do you mean? What did they innovate on? A lot of the combat in Elden Ring is ripped right from previous Dark Souls games. They added a jump attack, and they added the weapon arts that allow you to break posture more easily, but it looks like something that was supposed to be available in accessibility, but it got put into the game by default. Right, T-Tube? That's why I said it feels like a mistake. It literally feels like an accessibility choice of heavy hints of, if you don't want to have to figure out puzzles or navigation or where you're supposed to go, NPCs will guide you. It's almost like an NPC guide setting. It's like, nah, I don't want that turned on. You know what I'm saying? They have so many accessibility options. It's like somebody forgot to give us an off switch for this one. It's like, just let us turn it off. I guess I'm saying innovative in their own style. The open world and the load of different playstyles you can use. God of War is cool, but there's 2 weapons and that's it. Well, Mobius, it's obvious you've not played Ragnarok, so that's all I'm going to say. The combat depth and all the different builds and all the different things you can do in Ragnarok, only people that haven't played it will think that. That's all I'm going to say. There are significant things that take place, and there are significant build options. Yo, Dave, thanks for jumping back in as a VIP member. I appreciate that so much. I have extended puzzle time. They barely help me. No, that extended puzzle time doesn't affect that. They're not related. Extended puzzle time gives you more time to hit the things. That's all it does. On timed puzzles, it literally says it. On timed puzzles, it just gives you more time. They're constantly talking. I have the same feature turned on. It has increased puzzle time has no bearing on the NPC's audio. They're not related. The Black Harry Potter with a $5 tip through Super Chat. I understand how annoying it is, but personally, I love it because when it comes to game puzzles, I'm an idiot, and I'm thankful for the help. That's why I think it should just let you, like, walk up to them. Because you could totally do that. Thank you for the $5 tip, by the way. You could totally do that. You could be like, listen, I'm a puzzle dum-dum. I'm just going to go up to the NPC every time and ask for a hint. Ultimately, for me personally, I think this game is great, but honestly, because of the constant talking, it's making me just annoyed with the NPCs. Any information you only find out from playing is a spoiler. I mean, unknown to the game, I'm not mad at all. Just trying to help Ratchet out here. To be fair, I've not played it. Oh. I mean, I don't think playing as Atreus is a big deal. I don't think that's a major spoiler. It happened super early in the game. Everybody was speculating about it happening. I think it's fine. Yeah, there's builds, but the definition of wide of an ocean, depth is of a puddle. Let's call a spade a spade. No, I don't think so at all. There's entire things you can invest in that will completely change your gameplay. I am fully invested into stunning and healing. And if you invest in... somebody already said it this morning. There's like a poison thing you can do. If you invest in that, your gameplay is going to be completely different than mine. You're going to approach fights differently than I do. I don't agree with that. I don't think that they're a mile wide and an inch deep. That's not true. There's a handful of builds that you can pivot from that would make the game feel very, very different. Now, keep in mind, this is not an RPG. So the fact that that's in God of War Ragnarok, come on, that's pretty cool. That you could do 2 or 3 gameplay. You could do God of War Ragnarok gameplay, part 1, 2, and 3. You could play through the game 3 times and have a completely different experience. That's actually a feather in its cap. It's not an RPG at its core. It has RPG elements. Like, it is an RPG, but it's not Skyrim. It's not supposed to be like Elden Ring, where you have all these stats that you're investing in and all these different weapon sets that you can try. Thank you, David, for doing a full membership. I appreciate that so much. I was using the slow time on Perfect Dodge before that. It was super nice. Thank you, Kilton, for doing a VIP membership. Guys, we did a Star Wars watch party this month. You can always go watch the VOD, and you can queue it up with your own. You can watch Star Wars along with the VOD as a member, and it works because we didn't pause the movie. So you just queue up, and I tell you when to unpause and listen along with my wife and I. We'll do another one as long as we hit 2,000 members, which we're going to need a lot. We're down in like the 1,200 on members. We're going to need a lot of gifteds or a lot of folks to jump in if we want to get back up to those thresholds and unlock those cool events. Yo, another full membership from Trill Troll. Thank you. RPG Lite. Yeah, it's RPG Lite. So the fact that there's like different builds that you could completely change your playthrough, you know what I'm saying? Guys, if you've already pressed like this morning, thank you. If you haven't pressed it yet, make sure you do that. You think there's a chance they fix the instant answers to puzzles in a future update? I think so. I see everybody complaining about it. I see it complained about in a lot of places. Like, could you just let me turn it off? If I need a hint, or if I want them to say something, I'll walk up to them and I'll press a button. That's all you got to do. Now, that might be too complicated. That's a whole mechanic of like, hey, we're going to give you the option to walk up to a character and press a button. So that's probably unlikely. But just given the option to turn hints off. And then they'd have to go through and categorize all audio hints, and they just won't say it if you turn it to off. I think that'd be the easiest thing for them to implement, is to go through and like categorize all of the audio and say, these are all hints, and if someone checks this box, the NPCs never, ever, they're never going to say it. Personally, I think the game is 9 out of 10 or a 9.5. Is it my game of the year? Maybe. I'm still not sure. I still think it's a lot closer between Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok than people give either game credit for. I legitimately would have no issue if either game wins at this point. I think they are both deserving. I think Ragnarok just checks boxes that Elden Ring can't. And the boxes that Elden Ring checks, I don't think are as big of a deal. Right? The open world experience in Elden Ring is immaculate. I don't think that's as big of a deal as the graphics, the gameplay, the combat, the storytelling, and the voice acting. All those boxes that like Ragnarok gets to check, I just don't think those are checked by Elden Ring, and I think those are a bigger deal for Game of the Year. I think this is the kind of game that people will look back on and say that was one of the most cinematically driven, movie-esque video games ever made, right? We're about 30 seconds away from being live for an hour. Thank you so much for being here today. We only need 7 more likes. Guys, thanks for smashing it already. Thanks for being here. Last week was very, very weird. It's super encouraging to see a nice, strong turnout again. Obviously, I was not discouraged by the lack of viewership playing through the game. We are trying to forge a path where, going forward, the morning talk show will always be here, but there might be more of a presence of gameplay in the afternoons. We hope we start to foster an audience that supports gameplay. I know gameplay is very different because I'm not doing talk show and you want to avoid spoilers, so we kind of got hit from both sides. Like, the talk show people don't tune in, the people that don't want spoilers don't tune in. I get it, but we do want to start to foster that. You might start seeing in your funnel throughout the week on YouTube, hey, Reforge Gaming did a talk show and he did some gameplay. That might start being a pattern that you'll notice being more consistent. It won't be rigid. We'll still have days where we do 2 talk shows, but I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up. It's kind of tough to be a gaming channel where we don't ever play games. That's a little bit odd. So, but I understand Ragnarok is a particular type of game. Like, you just don't want spoilers. It's so story driven. I get it. Totally get it. Wheezy says, fair. I just don't think I've been pushed over the edge to in either direction. I think accessibility will probably give God of War the win, though, because accessibility options are very big for most people. Right. How to stop God of War Ragnarok companions from solving puzzles for you. Here's what you need to do. So what do they say in that article? I was busy all last week since I was on vacation. Coincidence? I think not. Right. Ragnarok has a fine-tuned combat system that is like a puzzle in itself, especially on the harder difficulty. Elden Ring is an RPG that made me think of how I built my character to deal with enemies. Play MW2 multiplayer again so you can hang out in those sweat lobbies. I haven't touched it. God of War Ragnarok NPCs, when they see you taking 2 seconds to solve a puzzle. Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's a perfect meme. That's exactly right. Like, they're just ready to pop. To play God of War Ragnarok at optimal performance, do you need to play PS4 version on a PS5? And do you still have like 10 months later? I think that goes into reasonable Game of the Year discussions. So my brother is referencing the fact that there were still, to this day, frame hitches in Elden Ring, and I had to continue to play the Elden Ring PS4 version on my PS5. And he thinks that should be in the consideration for Game of the Year. I actually kind of think that is in consideration. Optimization and performance, I think, are a factor. They're not a major factor, but I think if it's almost a dead even tie between the 2 games, then I do think you have to say that kind of knocks Elden Ring down, right? I think that knocks Elden Ring down a peg. It's like, you guys are still having performance issues. You know, it's not a next-gen game. That's another part of the conversation. God of War Ragnarok gameplay is next-gen. It's undeniably next-gen. People saying it's just a PS4 game. They have not touched the game. They've not looked at a single technical breakdown. They've not looked at any comparisons, right? The claim that God of War Ragnarok doesn't look that much better than God of War 2018, you know what's so funny about that? That claim is so dumb and so bankrupt that I have a video right now on the Clip Clop app. I'm not going to say the name. It rhymes with Clip Clop. That app, my video has 4 million views. I have never had a single piece of content go to that level of virality. And do you want to know why people are watching it? Because they're like, why is this guy comparing this game to a 4-year-old game and acting surprised that they look better? That's right. I shouldn't have had to make that comparison. I should not have had to make that video, but I did. Because there's tons of people that are like, yo, God of War Ragnarok doesn't look that much better than 2018. And I throw out that gameplay comparison, and people are like, this guy's an idiot. He's comparing it to a 4-year-old game. Of course it looks better. Even on ultra settings, of course it looks better. And it's like, you guys are completely missing the point. Like, nobody gets that video. They all think that I'm either a hater, I'm like angry. There were people that thought that. They thought I was angry that the PS5 version looked better than the Ultra PC version. And then there were people that were kind of like, duh, you dummy, of course it looks better. Majority of the comments on that video are asking you to please get help with your drug problem. Yeah, they think that I have an issue. They think I'm an idiot. Like, they don't get it. This guy tweeted, if a video game is going to give you the answer to a puzzle 20 seconds after you find it, there was really no point in including the puzzle to begin with. The fact that God of War Ragnarok is the second game I played this year that does this is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, that's a great way of stating it, Wheezy. I was going to say that. I was like, it invalidates the puzzle. It invalidates the puzzle. Why did you put the puzzle here if you don't want me to wrestle with it? Like, what's the point? It's because of the 1.5 speed playback. They think you talk like that. There's a guy, Creature, there was a guy that reacted to my video, and he was like, this guy is tweaking, bro. He needs to settle down. He made me laugh. I told him he made me laugh. It was very, very funny. I don't care. It's short form content. It's like, listen, this is a huge insult to people that just drool through short form content, but it's like, listen, man, your brain's too small for me to talk at normal speed. All right. I've learned in my experience with short form content, the brains of the people that consume that content, their brains are too small for a 30-second clip at normal talking speed. It needs to be at this speed where I'm going really, really fast and I'm pushing my... It's like, that's what you need, or you're not going to watch it. It's like, I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Your lack of attention span is not my fault, all right? I have to speed these videos up a little bit. Not everyone wants to struggle with puzzles, Lono. There are some I think would give casual new gamers too much trouble without those hints. Right, but that's not a response to what I said. I didn't say that everybody wants to struggle with puzzles. I said, you invalidate the existence of the puzzle by solving it for me as the minute I walk in the room. The minute I walk in the room. I'm not exaggerating. This is not hyperbolic. The God of War Ragnarok puzzles are often solved by the NPCs before I've even seen the puzzle. That's not exaggeration. I have walked into a room, and as I'm looking at the room, Atreus is like, it's right here, you need to do this thing. Shut up! It's not a matter of like, oh, not everybody wants to struggle. What are you talking about? You're not even given a chance to struggle. You're not even given a chance. That's what my kids do, right? I'm opening a present, and they're like, it's Legos. There's no mystery. There's no mystery. The wrapping paper hasn't been ripped yet, and my kids are like, it's Legos. Like, they can't keep it in. They're so excited. They're like a ball of energy. You know? It's like, there is no struggle. There is no tension. It's like, I walk in the room, and this is what they think. They're like, that guy's too stupid. I'm like, huh? Or is there a door? Where do I go? What do I do, Atreus? Help me. It's like they're treating me like like, what am I trying to say here? I'm going to offend people. I got to be really careful. They're treating me like I have a blindfold on and I'm a geriatric. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, he busted out of the nursing home and he's wearing a blindfold. Got to help this old idiot solve this extremely easy puzzle. So then why have puzzles if you're just going to solve it for me? That's what I'm saying. Giving them an option costs more money and time and bandwidth, not exactly top of the list of performance. Well, and that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It's not about, oh, add an option. At the very least, just do what most games I've played traditionally have done. Go back and play the Tomb Raider games, right? Laura says very generic things. We've got to figure out a way to move that. That's fine. She usually says that just to orient me so that I know, oh, there's something here I need to figure out. And she usually waits a little bit of time before saying it. And if I struggle for a little bit of time, she'll get more specific. Maybe if we get something behind it, we could move it. Like, you know what I'm saying? She'll say very generic stuff, right? But this game doesn't even do that. It's like you could at least make it wait for a minute. 1 minute would help. The puzzles aren't even that elaborate. It's not like the puzzles are super difficult and it's like, oh my gosh, you really robbed me of satisfaction. It just feels weird. It's like, what's the point? I disagree. Creating voice lines for every puzzle in the game costs them time and money way more than giving people the option. Yeah, that's a good point, Valiant. They'd spent the time to record all the hint dialogue. You think you would categorize it and let me turn it off. Hit the bombs and you'll clear the debris. Wow, cool, bro. I didn't even see the bombs. Yeah, you didn't even know they were there yet. That happened to me in the one room. I didn't even know the thing was needing hit. God of War Ragnarok is fun, I guess, but basically a hand-holding walking simulator. I mean, that's exaggeration if I've ever seen it. No adventure. What the F? Just make this a movie already and save me the $70. I mean, that's just nothing but exaggeration. I mean, come on. I've done some incredible missions that are just breathtakingly awesome. I have a strong and incredible memory of doing that to our dad once. I just couldn't hold it in. We just yelled out, "We bought you a shirt," when he came home from work. Yeah. I remember that. I remember helping my dad solve a puzzle in the original Legend of Zelda. If you guys like this like vintage Mario Christmas shirt, be sure to go to 80stees.com. Use code Lono over there for 30% off. If you use the shirt command, it'll take you to their Christmas collection. Now's a great time to get your Christmas shirts if you're wanting some good Christmas t-shirts. The average gamer doesn't need their handheld. This is an accessibility issue. I don't need the entire game in accessibility mode. That's what it feels like, Wheezy. It feels like they turned this on and just they're not giving us the option of turning it off. It's like, okay, if somebody wants this as an accessibility option, great for them. I don't. Tell the Dad Zelda story. I want to hear it. So, Dad got to the lake and didn't know what to do. The game had led him to this lake, and he's like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing here. This is supposed to be where the next dungeon is. And he was moving around and hitting stuff and using bombs or whatever. And I was like, play the whistle flute thing that you just got. I was like, you just got that item. Just play it. And he played it, and the lake dried up. And he looked at me and was like, that was it. Like, that's one of my favorite gaming memories, is that I helped my dad solve a puzzle, and he got excited, and he didn't get mad. It wasn't like I ruined it. He was like, thanks, that was great. Like, it was a cool moment. I'm a little confused that the Elden Ring performance issues are not a big deal. Should be a big disqualifier, especially on console. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Russell. If the performance issues went away after a month, then I would say, it's not a big deal. But they've persisted. Frame timing issues and the hitches are still there in Elden Ring. That is mint. Yeah, it's a good story. Why is it so hard to just not talk about things we only learn through playing? Oh, is somebody in chat? Yeah, you guys in Discord, just there's no reason to talk about that. Yeah, probably middle of the week. I agree, Barrier. I think since they never addressed them, they should be disqualified. 100% not even considered. Yeah, I never saw a patch note for Elden Ring that addressed the hitching issue on PlayStation. I never saw it. I've been having a lot of fun gaming this year. It's been a good year for games. Honestly, it has. I never had issues with Elden Ring performance on PS5. I mean, Meech, that's great. You didn't see them. Like, you see what I'm saying? People came in and told me that week one, Meech. Week one of Elden Ring, they were like, I'm not having any issues on my Xbox. Like they have a special Xbox or something. Must be the PS5. Shut the frick up. There were videos about it. Every platform was experiencing the frame timing and the frame hitches. You don't have a special Xbox. You don't have a special PS5. So you not seeing them doesn't mean they ain't there, right? Like, I'm not saying that specifically to you, Meech, but that's something that people kept coming in and saying, well, I've not had any issues. Well, good for you. Like, they're happening. They're there. And the last time I tried, I've not tried since, but the last time I tried, I booted up the game on PS5. I ported my PS4 version over to PS5. I did one spin test, and I got 2 frame hitches. I was like, nope. On my PS5, that shouldn't be happening. Welcome back, T-Grim. I have a special console. It's called a PC. Performance issues shouldn't be disqualifying when they get fixed. They absolutely must be a consideration, especially when they're never fixed. People are still playing the PS4 version on the PS5 to get a more stable game. That's exactly right, Fonzo. And that's what people are saying. They're saying if God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year is a discussion, that's part of the discussion. The number one contender against God of War Ragnarok still has people playing the PS4 version to avoid performance issues. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not having to do that with God of War Ragnarok. I'm playing the PS5 version and I've had no issues at all. I figured transmog was fair to talk about since it was discussed before release. Yeah, transmog was in an interview. Yeah, transmog's not a spoiler. That was an interview. We did a Reforge update on that. Yeah, transmog is not a spoiler. That was in an interview before the game came out. We covered that on our other channel on Reforge updates. So, yeah, you can't get upset about transmog. And again, I don't think Atreus gameplay is a significant spoiler. I don't think it is. We all speculated that it might happen. It happens 2 hours into the dadgum game. Like, my only complaint was the requirement to start using it. Oh, I heard you have to get armor like so leveled up. It's like, well, what the frick? Yeah, Sane. We're going to probably loop back to the Hogwarts stuff. It's worth covering. Elden Ring's better because there aren't people screaming in your ear where to go and what to do. Well, but that's not the only determination, though. Horizon Forbidden West isn't handled well for Platinum. It runs on the hardest difficulty. The machines are too tanky, and it's just a chore to take them out. How many of those people have been bothered checking if those issues are still the case instead of just continuing to play what they already were? I mean, with respect, 6 months in, they patched the game, Corey, and I still had the hitching issue in Elden Ring. At that point, what the frick's going on? I don't know if we can just look the other way. Oh, not Corey. I'm sorry, Solemn. Corey said, I keep Elden Ring opinion to myself because I feel it's a mediocre game that's been hyped for things other games would be killed for. Needless to say, it's not my Game of the Year contender ever. I think Elden Ring's approach to combat, build diversity, and open world are why it deserves Game of the Year nomination. I think it's outdone by God of War Ragnarok. I think God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year happens, no doubt. Yeah, I've not seen a single patch for Elden Ring that says, hey, we patched performance. Can you turn off the hints in God of War? No, you cannot. That's what many of us are requesting. The God of War Ragnarok puzzles. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee like 10 minutes ago. A bag of light roast to Gabe the Great. Thank you so much. If you guys have never tried our coffee, be sure to do that. If you've been enjoying the show today, be sure to hit subscribe. We've not gotten a lot of new subscribers today, so we're primarily, I think, streaming to the core audience, which is great because we're having a very, very strong turnout, and that's encouraging. So if you've been subbed before, thank you for continuing to tune in and watch. If you're watching and you haven't hit subscribe yet, consider doing it. Arteram with a 4-month membership. Arteram, you are still on a base membership. I need all members to use the !upgrade command and go to the page and switch to a full membership. It's $1 more. You'll be on a $6 membership from that point on, but I need everybody to do that before December. You either need to be on a full membership or a VIP before December. Base membership is designed for gifted members. They will be able to sample some of the content that we do, not all of it. We do members-only content virtually every day, and I don't think gifted members should get access to all of it because none of them converted when we had our big growth, and it's because we weren't asking them to. Yo, full membership in 13 months from my man Hex. Lono, loving all the coverage, been here, lurking, keep up the great work. Thank you, Hex. I haven't beaten Elden Ring because the combat system isn't for me. I'm not a very strategic gamer. Since the combat's very strategic, I couldn't find myself liking it. I mean, Elden Ring is incredibly punishing, yes. The combat's going to make you, really have to stretch. So, I'm ready to upgrade to full membership. Nice. Do it. People will forget Ragnarok in a month. It's the most one-and-done game I've ever played, and I like it a lot. But there's like 5 excellent scenes in Ragnarok. Everything else feels like padding. I completely disagree with you. Ragnarok will not be forgotten in a month. Ragnarok will go down in history as one of the strongest cinematic, story-driven games in existence. I believe it's the archetype for good storytelling and a cinematically driven game. Like, I don't think there's another game out there that's doing what it did. How many puzzle types are in God of War Ragnarok? Seem like 4 unique types, so is it really spoiling what you have to do? Yes, because there were a couple of sequences where I didn't even know there was a puzzle. And they're like, you need to blow that thing up to set this thing free. And I'm like, what the frick? What? Huh? I think you're misunderstanding. We're not saying that the puzzles are elaborate and super satisfying to figure out. But it's immersion breaking to be like, I didn't even get to try. I walked in the room and somebody backseat gamed. Imagine somebody sitting on your couch and doing that. You walk into a room and they're like, yeah, you got to blow that thing up and then you can pull the lever. You would look at them and be like, bro, shut the frick up. Why'd you say that? And then imagine if they did it again and again and again and again. It's like, it's not about the, oh man, that was going to be really satisfying and that was a real head scratcher. It's, dude, shut up. Let me play the game. Lono, it's got to feel good to come off 3 days of birthday gameplay and find your core audience here chomping at the bit for a spoiler-free show. I'm super happy for you. Yeah, today feels good. Today feels good. It didn't necessarily feel good to struggle, but I will say this. A lot of you went back and watched the VODs. Please continue doing that. Those gameplay videos actually did well. They did fine. They didn't do amazing. But for the fact of like what we were doing and how we were doing it and what we primarily offer here, I was very pleased with all of those videos. They're all doing fine. And they're going to be indexed. I didn't do Friday nights yet. I need to go back and index Friday night and add the chapters. Those are going to be really, really great evergreen pieces of content on the channel. I definitely went back and watched them as I progressed. Thank you, Barrier. What gear you use for endgame? I haven't beat the game yet. I'm 26 hours in. The chapters you added in the VODs were very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I have not done that with the most recent. The most recent, this is not a spoiler because you know that we go to all 9 realms. That's from the interviews. So you know we go to Helheim at some point. That most recent one where we're in Helheim, I have not gone back and added chapters. Again, that's not a spoiler. Unless you're unfamiliar with the 9 realms, like, you have to know we're going there. So if you're familiar with the 9 realms, then you know we're going there. If you're not familiar with them, then you don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, the exploding plant. Yeah. No spoilers. Yeah, that got annoying. Elden Ring's not a bad game. Mediocre is saying that I don't think Elden Ring is nearly as transformative as the fanboys think it is. For me, Elden Ring is a longer version of Dark Souls 3. Yeah, but see, I'm not a fanboy, Corey. And I think they did something with open world gameplay that I've not experienced before. And I love open world games. They're my favorite games. Open world action adventure games. Just swapped to tier 2, from tier 2 to a VIP. Thank you, Meech. And thanks for doing 15 months, my man. I've been watching some of your VODs, although because the VODs are signposted, I have to be careful as I don't want to know the order in which we visit the realms. Yeah, I mean, I can't do anything about that, Legend. Like, I get where you're coming from. That's a little persnickety. Like, oh, I don't want to know what order we visit the realms in. I gotta put that on there. I have to give people some semblance of an idea of, like, where the frick I am in the game. Does that make sense? I think that's fair. Would you consider what made Elden Ring great was built upon Breath of the Wild? Yes and no. I wanted to see you cry also. Cry? Yeah, I cried in the most recent episode when I played on Friday night. Yeah, the only other video game that's ever made me cry was Hellblade. I freaking cried. I get a little bit more emotional when I drink. And I had 2 drinks. And maybe not even 2. I think I had 1. I was halfway through my second beer, and I freaking cried. It was like, as a dad, I was just like, okay. Did someone die? Why are you asking for spoilers? This is all I'm going to say. It was a conversation. It was just a conversation. A conversation in the game made me cry. It was father-son. Yeah, I was done. I was absolutely done. Because it's like, I relate as a dad, you know, who I've had to work hard and to change and to improve and better myself and to fight through hell, you know. Thank you for an entire year of support, transmissions from the space boat, and thanks for making sure you're at a full membership. I appreciate that. Wowzers, that's a lot of months. It is. Your badge will turn gold next month to celebrate that year. You should take a poll on how many people played Elden Ring blindly versus with help from online guides, because I used a guide with no shame. I don't care about doing a poll about that right now. Hey, let's try this new feature. Start a Q&A. Say something. Ask me questions. How does this work exactly? What the frick? It hijacked my entire chat. So, what? Oh, I see. Okay. Ask me questions. I want to see what this does. I think it's supposed to put them up on the screen if I answer a question or something. So use that to ask me questions about the game. How are you? What's your favorite color? This seems redundant. Is the sky blue? All right, let's try what's your favorite color. Select question. Okay, I selected a question. Did anything pop up for you guys? Bleep asked me, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is usually black. I usually go with black. Yeah. Ask me questions about this discussion, though. God of War Ragnarok and Game of the Year. Let's try that. It just shows us in chat. Okay. So it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up in the actual, like, live stream. Okay. It popped up with the banner in chat. Yeah, it came up. Okay. I don't think I can set that to be members only. Right? I don't think I can set that to be members only. But I have a thing I can go to now, and I see all of your questions that you guys submitted. What triggered you to cry? What triggered you to cry? Yeah. Select question. So, I'm not going to tell you what was said, but yeah, it was just a conversation. It was just a conversation between Kratos and Atreus. Yeah. Whatever perms you assign chat, that will inherit. It's kind of annoying on mobile. Yeah, see, it would be amazing. I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end Q&A. Yeah. It's kind of annoying on mobile. That's why we don't like doing polls. And yeah, I wish Q&A. What we want to have Q&A do is have it pop up on the video. That's something they're gonna do. Corey says, keep it real, bro. You didn't actually play Ragnarok. You have such wild hot takes. It makes it almost impossible that you actually played the game. The guide isn't needed for God of War because they hold your hand and the game isn't deep. So what makes Ragnarok not being a longer version of the 2018 game? You go to the same realms. No, you don't. Use the same weapons. No, you don't. Yeah, I agree with Corey. You've not played the game. You don't go to the same realms. You go back to some realms, and it's completely different environments. And no, you don't use the same weapons. What triggered you to cry in Hellblade? There's two scenes that make me emotional in Hellblade. There's the scene where she first meets Dillion, and then there's the ending where she gets, like, set free from everything, right? And it's like, they're letting you know there's more to the story. She's like, come with us or whatever. That, yeah. Those two sections always make me cry. When she first meets Dillion, it's some of the best cinematic video game experience that you can have. It's some of the best. The way that they film it, the way that they make you experience it, there's not a game where you can have that experience. You just can't. You can't. It's the one where she's on the beach and she goes over and she starts walking up this hill and there's all these flowers and the music starts to hit. I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about it. And when you get up near the tree, she starts to talk to Dillion, and you see what he does to her, what his kindness starts to do to her, and what it is, and then all of a sudden you're yanked out of that memory. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm telling you, that sequence alone is just the artistry they poured in that game is just great. And Ragnarok, I was not ready for that. I wasn't. God of War Ragnarok has been an amazing experience. I've thought every single scene and every single piece of dialogue was carefully written. There's really funny parts. I've laughed out loud at this game probably more than any other game I've ever played, like funny moments. Yo, Murph with a VIP, and it's 15 months. Welcome back, Murph. Thank you so much. So, I wasn't ready for it. I played the game. Your arguments don't make sense. How is Elden Ring a longer Dark Souls 3, but Rag's not a longer God of War? You platted a mediocre game. Yeah, I know you've not played it, Slow Mobius. If you played God of War Ragnarok, you wouldn't be saying the things that you're saying. Or you've only played it for an hour or two. Nobody that's played Ragnarok for, I don't know, longer than 3 hours would be like, it's just a continuation of 2018. We go to the same realms and we use the same weapons. No, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that, because in the beginning, in the earlier parts of the game, that's not even true. I'm just gonna delete that. Ratchet, man, you got to read the room. You've been asked multiple times to not talk about that, and you keep trying to talk about it. Nobody wants that in the chat. Different era with a 5-month membership. Do you agree with most of the 10 out of 10 reviews God of War Ragnarok is receiving? How much of an improvement did it make on 2018? Hey, different era, use the upgrade command and make sure to get off of base membership. You want to be on a full membership. It's only $1 more, but we need everybody to do that before December. So I think it's a 9 out of 10 game without question. If people want to give it 10 out of 10, I don't care. I think there's enough criticism to knock it down to a 9. The criticisms are minor, but I think there's enough criticisms to be like, no, it's not a 10 out of 10 game, right? So the as far as how much of an improvement did it make over 2018, significant. At every layer, it's a huge improvement on 2018. Gameplay, huge improvement. Story and dialogue and cutscenes, huge improvement. Graphics, huge improvement. Like, I can't think of anything that they didn't improve upon. I just can't. Not wanting to spoil anything, but there are combat options later in the game that are a mile away from anything in 2018. That's what I'm saying, Face. I'm like, there's no way you've played this game at any great length if you think it's just a continuation of 2018. We go to the same realms and we use the same weapons. You've not played the game if you're saying that. You haven't. And the funny thing is, you didn't realize that people would call you on your BS. You just thought you could probably come in here and say that. But people are calling you on your BS because they're further in the game. They're like, what in the frick are you talking about? Do you like all parts of the story, beginning and end? It's a very minor spoiler, but about 2 hours into the game, you don't play as Kratos. There's a section where you play as Atreus. And that happens multiple times throughout the game. And it gets better the farther you get. But I actually think that's going to hurt the game's replay value. I've enjoyed every second of the game, but I also have to think as a gamer and a YouTuber, and I'm like, folks are not going to want to replay some of these sections. They're too slow. You're not with your main character. You're not getting to do your things that you unlock. The one time I got especially frustrated because, like, I had just unlocked a bunch of stuff, and I was, like, really excited, and then suddenly I'm not playing as Kratos. And then all of a sudden when I was back playing as Kratos, I was playing so sloppily that I died. I was like, I haven't touched the guy in 2 hours. You know? And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I got to use him. Because it's very different. His combat style is very different, understandably. And so, no, I've not beat it yet. I'm 26 hours in. So it was, yeah. I didn't like that. I found that to be a little irritating. Yeah, it kind of plays itself. Like, that section is just like, what the huh? Like, yeah, I think Atreus fights. I think the way he fights is fun, right? I think the way he fights is fun, but again, it takes a while to get good. After the 50-hour mark, you really start to see the real improvements. No, that's not what I was saying. I disagree with the story being an improvement. I think the storytelling is 100% better, and I truly love the game, but I think they pivoted with the overall story from what they were setting up in 2018. No, I don't think so. What are you talking about? 2018 ends with the question of everything we just did was predicted by this wall. Oh, and the Giants called me Loki. And you're all like, what? And then this game is examining what all that means. I don't see how you can say that. They 100%. I'm dead serious. I think the people that are like, God of War 2018 story is better than God of War Ragnarok. What? We just did a rewatch, a 5-hour supercut, and I'm like, no. God of War 2018 story is immaculate, but this game's story is a step up. They actually managed to do it. They did. And I think people remember 2018 extremely fondly, and they're forgetting that the story was very unidimensional. There were elements to it that were very repetitious, and it was good, but it was very unidimensional. We're moving. And this one has twists and turns and mysteries and surprises and way more characters entering the frame. They didn't play the game. I'm 12 hours in and seeing huge story differences. It's not better. It's just a continuation of the same story they're now expanding upon. Right, but I think they've done a great job doing that. It's like, it feels like a bigger, more grand scope. It feels epic. And the last one felt more dramatic, if that makes sense. I don't want to spoil anything. They leave unanswered questions from 2018. I think that's probably okay. The PS4 version is 106 gigs. Is it the same as the PS5? The PS5 is a little bit smaller because it uses the Kraken compression or whatever it's called, so it takes up a little less space. But yeah, it's roughly twice. It's more than twice the install size of 2018. Yeah, because it's a big. I believe it's a bigger game. The environments are larger. The places you can go are larger. Yes, there's more. There's more biomes. There's more enemies. There's more enemy variety. So there's more audio. There's more textures. Like, all those things add up. Half a year from Trill Troll, saying I haven't touched a guy in 2 hours could be interpreted in different ways out of context. Finally able to become a new member. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that, Trill Troll. 2018 story benefits from it being pretty simple. Ragnarok has more nuance and dimension. It rarely indulges in the common action tropes. Yeah, I think that's a fair way to summarize it, Nexuish. Yes. 2018 is just more unidimensional. It's just like, we're doing this. I don't want to say there's what are the things? What is it when you have a narrative element just to have a narrative element? It's called a MacGuffin. I feel like 2018 sometimes falls into the MacGuffin trap of like, we need to go do the thing. Okay. We need to go do the thing. Well, now we need this thing to go do the thing. And it's like, cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's bad. This is not criticism. Nothing I'm saying right now is criticism. Nothing I'm saying is criticism. But it does start to feel like we need to go do the thing, and we got to get this thing to do the thing. And I feel like there's more depth and nuance, and there's more surprises in Ragnarok. There's more mystery. Like, you don't know what's happening next. And 2018 is like, we need to go do this. Well, you can't. Why? Well, you need to go do this first. It has a little bit more of a gamey quest feel to it. And I have not felt that in Ragnarok. I remember playing 2018 and feeling that way. It was like, oh, we have to do this. Well, no, you can't do that until you do this. Well, now that you have this, you can go and do this thing. Ragnarok story is a very ingenious take on the Oedipus story, while 2018 was a setup story for the Ragnarok story. So having watched about 7 minutes of your gameplay and this conversation today, sounds like this game is just DLC. Are there a lot of side quests? Because all I have currently is the crows and the one I can't even do yet. So this is how the side quests work. No spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything. You have to explore to find them. Svartalfheim, they showed Svartalfheim in trailers and stuff. It's the place with all the water and the gears, and they showed some puzzle solving with ice. So that's not a spoiler. That was in trailers before the game came out. That area, Svartalfheim, I found an amazing side quest with Mimir, and I didn't know it was there. I was just wandering around, and you find something, and Mimir is like, we have to unlock this door. That's all I'll say. That's not a spoiler. He's like, oh, we have to unlock this door. That leads to a side quest for Mimir. But you don't know it's there. It's not like on the map as a blue icon, and you go walking over, and you like, doom, 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 knock on the door, and then Mimir is like, oh, we need to do this. So that is one thing with side quests that I think is cool. You have to kind of wander around, and you'll find them. I found one the other night when I was playing down here and my wife was sitting here. I walked up to this place and this guy was like, hey, I need help with this thing. And I helped him. Well, I didn't know that was there. I was just wandering around and found it. In your opinion, which game would have a say has more replay value? Elden Ring has way more replay value. Way more. Yeah, that POV's fine, Creature. That POV's fine. We're going to be watching the Game of the Year nominations. It'll probably be pretty short, but we do want to make sure and watch it. That should be fun. That should be fun. It's at noon, is it not? We'll go over probably 30 minutes early and continue this discussion. That'll be perfect, because we're talking about it right now, like what deserves Game of the Year. What Pantheon does God of War go to next? I believe they're going to do Egyptian, because when they took a vote at the company that we ended up in Norse, it was like a 50-50 split. They said it was almost a tie. So roughly half the company's probably been chomping at the bit to go Egyptian. So that's probably where we'll go next. I don't know how to upgrade. A different era. I'm going to type !upgrade in the chat. There is a link in the chat that will take you to youtube.com/Reforge Gaming/membership, right? That page is where you upgrade your membership. It's basically the memberships page. You should just click like see perks. Can't wait for your take on the ending. What is this now? Assassin's Creed? I'm not sure what you mean. You say what rating of Elden Ring was? My rating for Elden Ring, remember, I dropped my Elden Ring rating to like an 8, 8.5. I thought the second half of Elden Ring pacing and difficulty and combat design and boss design, I thought it sucked. I think that the end of Elden Ring falls off the rails. And the performance issues. I dropped Elden Ring to like an 8, 8.5. And I dropped Ragnarok from a 9.5 to a 9. So I think Ragnarok edges it out. I've not finished it, but that's where my current vote is on Ragnarok. Yeah, Mayan was mentioned. Barlog said they'll either go Egyptian or Mayan next. I think they're going to go Egyptian. Now I understand your choice of Ragnarok as Game of the Year. Yeah, like, I thought Elden Ring was so good. Like, and then you get to the second half, and I feel like Elden Ring falls off the rails. Yo, Mr. Frugal with an entire year. Loving my time in God of War. Can't watch your play till I finish. I'll catch us on a replay since I know I'm going to hear something I don't want to. No worries, Mr. Frugal. Just make sure before December you upgrade from a base membership to a full membership. It's only $1 more, and we need folks at the highest membership. Oh, not, I'm sorry. We need folks off of the base membership. Any game you rate higher than a 9? No, I don't even rate Hellblade higher than a 9. I don't rate Ghost of Tsushima higher than a 9. Because I have criticisms of both of those games that keep them from being a 9.5. Even Hellblade doesn't get a 9.5 from me, because there's elements to it that I find annoying. I don't think Elden Ring fans will riot, but it'll have to be a defining reason. Can somebody get me a link to the YouTube video of the Game Awards thing today? I need a link to the YouTube video, the stream that they're going to do. Should Ragnarok gain that extra 0.5 back? No. No. Because the things they're doing in Ragnarok that annoy me are throughout the entire game. There's no way they can earn that point back. There's just no way. Mine would be cool. Could Egyptian potentially be seen as overdone? It's been so long. No, not my own video, Talika. I need the one that they're doing. Thank you, Paul. Talika gave me a link to my own video. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, what, are we at the top of the search results? I got it here. Talika's like, here's the official video. You're damn right. It's just mine. It's mine. I just watch myself eternally looped. That's the one, Talika. Thank you. What difficulty do you recommend playing Ragnarok at? I recommend normal. I recommend normal because one of the other criticisms I have is the mob fights are so spammy. They're real spammy, bro. You get stun locked in this game. You get shot from off-camera damage a lot, and I find it to be very annoying. There was a couple of fights where I literally felt like I had to run around the circumference of the room and take care of all of the range attacks, like all the range enemies first before I could even have a dadgum fight. You know what I'm saying? Combat's too sticky. I don't have any issues with that. I recommend No Mercy. It's a real balance. I'm going to give No Mercy. I'm doing No Mercy, and it's brutal. Feels like Souls Kratos. One issue I have with God of War is the camera. Camera acts up sometimes. Sure. Yeah, the burning is crap. Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have put dot damage in the game. The dot damage stands for damage over time. That dot is so frustrating. It's like, dude, what the huh? Like, I don't get why they do that. I had to bump up the difficulty to above normal. It made me start using my entire kit more. Putting quick turn to swipe up on the touchpad is really good. I never considered doing that. There's a way to transfer dot damage to an enemy. Camera feels like an issue in action games. I think anytime you have third-person combat, melee-based, and you want to make it really hard, I feel like the camera's always going to be an issue. Your opinion changed on shields not being weapons? Yeah, I know they're categorized in that way, but they don't feel like a weapon. They don't. It feels like an aspect of your defense. There are amazing shields in the game, by the way, that really change things up. But, like, they don't feel like weapons. Swipes on the touchpad are all unbound. Swipe up is easy to do with your right thumb. Yeah, I might try that. That actually sounds good. My biggest complaint is navigating can get kind of confusing. French Revolution. One of the things about God of War Ragnarok gameplay that I found to be weird was they didn't streamline exploration, and I feel like they should have. Because you're like, oh, I missed that thing, or oh, I would like to get that thing. And it's a little tedious to get to it. Does that make sense? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just trying to get around back down to that area because I know there's a chest that I missed. And getting back there, they just didn't streamline any of it. It's like, you literally like slowly climb down the wall and then like slowly climb up this wall. I don't know. I think that's part of the problem. They're kind of working. Yo, Jay Huddy, welcome back. Again, guys, make sure when you're renewing your membership, you're going to your membership page and getting off of base membership. You want to be on a full membership. It's only $1 more, but we need people to switch. Elden Ring does exploration better, gotta say. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I've been playing the game and hoping there was a site of grace. Well, I don't need a site of grace. I just, when I'm trying to solve a puzzle, or I'm trying to get to an area, or I'm trying to like loop back around to something, I don't know. It seems a little tedious. Abe says, hey chat, we're close to 400 likes. Let's get there. Guys, if you've already smashed the like button this morning, thank you so much for doing that. Make sure, if you haven't, that you help us get to the next like milestone. My opinion on the difficulties of the game is to play on normal, and then if you want to change difficulty, go to the Infinite Arena to try it out there. If the camera would zoom out a bit. Right, Rojo? I feel like at times I'm constantly getting hit from off-camera damage in God of War Ragnarok. And it's like, if you could let me zoom it out just a little bit, it would really help. It feels tight. Whose music do you think is better, Elden Ring or Ragnarok? I think Elden Ring's original score is virtually unmatched. But Ragnarok has some moments that are absolutely incredible, and the music plays a part. But the music in Elden Ring, I don't know if anything comes close. The Elden Ring original score is just, oh my gosh, it's so good. I haven't finished Elden Ring. I'm 90 hours in. I have a problem never finishing games. Game of the Year winner, Elden Ring over God of War Ragnarok. I think God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year happens. I think it wins, yes. I feel like there must have been some reason they couldn't zoom out more. We have probably performance. Yo, thank you, Jay Huddy, for upgrading to full membership. I appreciate you doing that. I know a lot of you might be confused about that or struggling to get it done. I appreciate everybody who does it, though. It's going to be very helpful next month. Who do you think has better boss battles? Time for the real question. It's hard to quantify better. You know what I'm saying? Better boss battles. I don't know, because they're so different. You're coping. I love that people like you think you've typed up something of substance. Elden Ring is greater than God of War Ragnarok, no doubt. You're coping. With no respect in my voice, frick you. I laid out a 10-minute open in this show, walking through all the reasons I think that God of War Ragnarok gets Game of the Year. But I'm just quote-unquote coping. You sound stupid. This game is fresh in everyone's mind. Elden Ring never had a chance. Unable to upgrade on phone, says different era, or I'm incompetent. Different era. If you want to do it on phone, you have to click your profile logo up in the corner, and then you go to purchases and memberships. And then you go to channel memberships, and you go to mine. So, like, imagine dismissing an entire video and argumentation about why I think God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year is going to happen, and you tell me I'm coping. Well, dismissing everything I've said as coping is ironically a cope. Like, instead of engaging with the substance of what I've said, the graphics, the gameplay, the story, the scope and the breadth of Ragnarok and why I think it deserves Game of the Year, instead of engaging with that, you just tell me I'm coping. Like, ironically, that's a cope. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, I can sit here and argue why Elden Ring has a very strong chance to win, right? I actually think Elden Ring still has a strong chance to win Game of the Year. I think ultimately Ragnarok takes it. That's called nuance. That's not coping. That's, okay, I see the quality of both. My opinion is this one's going to edge out the other. Unrelated, but WTF? From Champions Field to the island. I'm not sure what is that. It's what are they showing? And so, yeah, to debate whether or not God of War Ragnarok boss fights are better than Elden Ring boss fights. Oh, they're going to do Rocket League in Fortnite? That's cool. I was JK, bro. Chill. I'm not a hater. I said it without thinking it through. I mean, I smack people pretty hard for that because I'm tired of people doing that on my videos. Like my shorts and my videos, like, this guy's coping, this guy's molding. It's like, oh, okay. It's not substantive. Like, we do substantive discussion here, and the drive-by you're coping thing is just annoying. I'm in the opposite sideline. After playing God of War Ragnarok, it's an excellent game and I love playing, but Elden Ring wins. Order Reforge Roast, says Cody Biscuits, and he's on a full membership. That's my man. Thank you very much. CD Projekt Red has announced release dates for The Witcher 3 Next Gen. Finally. December 14th. Okay, we'll have to check it out. It seemed like a troll comment. Yeah, it seemed like a drive-by troll comment. Listen, I actually think the people that like what Aaron Barker just said, I think you can make a very strong case that Elden Ring wins. I think you can. I think I can make a really strong case as to why Ragnarok will win. Ultimately, at the end of the day, neither argument I think is wrong or weak. I think there are strong arguments in both games' corners. Like, this is Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa going round after round after round. Like, they're both in the ring standing up, and they're wailing on each other. I think both games have a very, very strong possibility of winning. I fundamentally think that Ragnarok edges it out. You think there's recency bias? I don't think I have recency bias, and I'll tell you why. I played Elden Ring like crazy, and I think I saw accurately the good, the bad, and the problems, right? It's not like I played Elden Ring for like a week and then put it down. I played the snot out of that game. So I don't think recency bias is playing a role, at least not for me, because all the things that I was looking for in Ragnarok, I wanted the God of War Ragnarok gameplay to be improved, combat story. I wanted all those things to be improved, and I feel like they've done all of those things. I had pretty high expectations for Ragnarok, probably higher expectations than I had for Elden Ring. So I think Ragnarok stood an easier chance to not impress me. Does that make sense? I think I do. I think that. I think God of War Ragnarok had a harder time impressing me because I went in with far greater expectations. There'll be subconscious recency bias always present. Well, I mean, there's always honeymoon phase with every game. But I'm far enough into Ragnarok that I've turned around and said, this has been annoying, this has been ticking me off, and I don't like this thing that they're doing over here. Like, does that make sense? I'm not really in the honeymoon phase with Ragnarok. I'm 26 hours in, and I have plenty of criticisms. If I was still in recency bias like honeymoon phase, I would be sitting here just praising the heck out of the game. We probably spent more time criticizing it this morning than we spent praising it because it's more interesting to actually talk about the areas of the game that could have been better or improved upon, if that makes sense. I find God of War Ragnarok is beyond my expectations. Oh, it's going beyond your expectations. Well, that's good. I feel like it's meeting my expectations, but my expectations were pretty high. I mean, they were pretty high. Lono's honeymoon phase is usually pretty short with how deep he looks into game mechanics and systems. Yeah, my honeymoon phase usually wears off after the first play session. Like, first play session, and then I'm usually like, yep, here's all the problems, here's all the things I should have done differently. It's just the way my mind works. We get 8 more likes on the video. If you've already pressed the like button, thanks so much for being here. We are going to be taking a look at the Game Award nominations. They're going to be going live shortly, and we're going to switch streams for that. So it's very, very well timed to discuss, is God of War Ragnarok going to get Game of the Year? Well, we're about to find out if it got nominated. Agreed. In God of War Ragnarok, there are side bosses that you are under-leveled for at the time you unlock them. So if you are worried about them, then play balance. How do you feel about the ability to level up and mod system in the game? It wasn't initially intuitive for me. It's a mess. I actually think it's a bit of a mess. I think the way, like when you go to Brock and Sindri, I think what you can create and what you can upgrade, it's a freaking mess. It's all smashed together. You know what I'm saying? It's all smashed together. It's like, oh, here's all my chess pieces. Wait a minute, hang on. What can I make and what can I upgrade? It's just all listed together. And then they just keep adding things. They just keep adding things. Like, you get this, then you get this, then you get this, then you get this. I'm like, I don't know how all this even works together. And then your NPCs have more you can do to them. So it's like, is this helping me? I don't know what any of this is doing. There's so much stuff that it's almost too much. You're like, this seems really broad. Like, I don't even know what any of this stuff's doing. Some of it just wasn't explained very well. And then like I said, the Brock and Sindri menus, I think they're worse than the first game. I'm like, I don't, what am I making, buying, upgrading? Oh, it's all in a list. Been out for a bit due to spoilers. You finished the game? I'm 26 hours in. I have not finished the game. How many hours is the Game of the Year nominee thing? It's probably going to be really short. We'll probably watch it and then spend the entire time debating Elden Ring versus God of War Ragnarok. I feel the filtering for the gear is confusing and annoying. Yeah, I think it's odd. Gave you a like. Nice to be back. Always here. Missed last week, just like during Elden. I take weeks enjoying the games. Oh, I totally understand that. Happy Raging Matt. Thank you very much. I'm sure Ragnarok is good for people who love Sony games, but I'm afraid to buy it because the other Sony titles I played haven't grabbed me. Always enjoy your shows. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Dan. I agree it's a mess. I found as you went through the game, the mess started to become more organized. Yeah, I just kind of ignored it. And kept going. I was like, I'll figure that out later. Looking into the weapon, armor, and skills menu for the first time is sensory overload. I never really understood what amulets were either. It's just another thing you can do. That's not a spoiler, by the way. It's just another thing in your loadout, and it's like it has stats, and you can put stuff on it. Like, that's not a spoiler. It's just like, okay, what the frick? Like, UI is clunky AF, but Elden Ring was a mess too. Yeah, Elden Ring doesn't exactly have a great UI either, so they're probably not really one's not edging the other out. You know what I mean? They both don't have the greatest UI and menu systems. That is true. UI seems to be an issue with modern high budget games. I wonder why. Do you want to know what I'm going to tell you right now what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. They're trying to add more. They want to add more, expand more, update more. They want all this breadth, and that makes it difficult to make it well organized. Does that make sense? Thank you so much for 13 months, Matasbo. And there's that gold badge. Look at that. Let's go for 24, my man. And thanks for making sure you're on a full membership. Like, one of the things we talked about recently is we talked about good UI. I'm gonna have a video sometime this week about Modern Warfare's UI and some things that I think could, be fixed. By the way, Creature, I put a bunch of highlights in that room, so we can probably have a highlight for today. If you have time, you probably have time before end of the day. I put the timestamps and stuff in there. We've been doing highlights from past broadcasts, and one of the ones this week is going to be about Modern Warfare 2's UI. And one of the things I say in the video is really, really good UI doesn't get credit because you don't notice it. Like, does that make sense? They're done? Oh, okay. You just have to upload them. Cool. My man works quick. Does that make sense? It's like, you're not going to notice really good UI. Just scoring them out. See which one to run. Okay, no worries. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, well, yeah. You're not going to notice really good UI. Because if it's good UI, then you don't pay any attention to it. It just kind of helps you see all of the stuff. So I do think I do think that sometimes we forget that. We forget that there are always elements to UI that can be better, but when UI is like really, really bad, I think sometimes people forget that's harder to to sometimes fix, because games just keep getting broader and broader and broader, and in their broadness, in their broadness, I think they get a little unwieldy, and then we just see that it's bad, right? That's all we see. We don't see that, like, well, you know, they could have done this better or that better. We're just like, it's clunky and confusing, because it's sometimes it's hard to even put your finger on, like, why a UI is bad or why a UI is good. Does that make sense? So I want to switch and head over to the Game Award nominations stream. We slap this one together. Kind of slap this one together, but I think it's going to be a good stream. You have 3 pieces of armor, weapon hilts, runic attacks, NPCs, shield ground, skill tree, multiple other things as well, all upgradable, all doing different things. There's so much to try and show in the menus. Yeah, it's like I said, it's when games go for more breadth, I think it makes the UI a challenge. I do. The Game Awards nominations. Live. Okay. And then you put it in stream holding. Copy image. Game Award. Game Award tweet. Okay. Yeah. Hang on. I need to test one thing. Oh, no, I don't. I just need to go in here and change this to microphone and then just like open a video. Okay. Perfect. We're ready. All right, I'm going to put a link in chat. Redirect has been working better. Redirect has been working better, but if you don't want to ride the redirect and you'd rather just head to the next video on your own, then click the link in chat instead. Thanks so much for clicking on this. If you're watching the past broadcast and you're getting caught up on the Game Award nominations, we are streaming this live. So if you missed that live stream, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you are able to be here for these live streams. We always appreciate the people that tune in and support the streams whenever we are live. And we did a God of War Ragnarok review, first impressions with no spoilers. We did that this morning. If you missed that past broadcast, go check that one out. I'm going to end that broadcast and bring everybody over. We actually started discussing whether or not God of War would get Game of the Year. So we're about to find out if it even got nominated. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring everybody over from that stream. That was a good little